outside in freezing cold.
It's an interesting sentence.
August-like heat. And
Yes.
In October.
Yes.
We've done this show.
All of those things.
This program.
The program is the
Wolf
thing
Show.
that we did.
The Jenna Wolf Show.
We're here with Steve Hirdt. He is the president of the Elias Sports Bureau, which provides statistics to the big professional sporting events, teams, seasons, teams, leagues, teams, media, network. All of it.
Yeah.
You know how when you're watching a game or something and all of a sudden you see all the numbers behind, where do you think all that information comes from? Not me. I don't know that stuff. I don't know that the Niners are 0-5 against the spread at home. I don't know those kind of things. I get that from Steve Hirdt, one of the smartest people you will meet in a very long time. Also, one of my closest friends and one of my first friends when I got into the media here in New York. Remember?
Right. Yes, because I was. We were thrown together in the press boxes of baseball games.
Oh my gosh!
Right?
Anyone who covers baseball, and I'm sure it's none of you out there that are watching.
I think everybody watching this.
It covers baseball. It's a long season, and if you cover every game, it's a lot of time spent at the ballparks. Now, Lance is a big Blue Jays fan because Jose Bautista is his client.
Very nice.
Yes, and this is a big player for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Right, and the Blue Jays have just won their playoff series against
Texas
Rangers.
Correct. Now they're waiting for. No, they're playing Cleveland.
They're going to play
Cleveland just beat Boston last night. I watched that game.
Really?
Big Poppy. Last time ever in the game that made you who you are. What do? I'm going to take ball 4.
Really? That's what he did last time?
Last bet. He
and
watched
they took him
ball
out for a
4.
runner, right?
Yeah.
Took him out for a runner to great applause at Fenway.
Well, I mean, he's 108 and he doesn't move around so well. They needed to get a runner out there.
No, exactly.
No, it's so deflating, you know? He didn't.
Yeah, it's just kind of
to end with, and he could have swung at that. And let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
3-0, you're not going to just swing away the last. You're Big Poppy.
Okay, so here's the for you were not a batting coach in your past life, were you?
Not even a little one.
Okay.
But I did play third base for Horace Greeley.
All right, so you know what the strike zone is.
But no, this was in the general area.
Okay, but the strike zone is kind of like a big imaginary box.
I understand.
That more or less goes from your knees to somewhere between your belt and your shoulders.
Yeah.
Right? So, and the cross home plate. So that's
right.
a large box to have to look for a pitch anywhere in there. So when you're ahead on the count, when the batter's ahead, he has 2 balls and no strikes, 3 balls and no strikes, maybe 3 and 1.
You have to assume you're going to get a strike.
Mentally, he assumes he's going to get a strike, but in those counts, he's looking for a particular strike. So if you're swinging 3-0, you are looking for maybe a fastball on the inner half, knee high.
Because you want to.
And if you get it right there, you are ready to
But
pounce.
how do you know?
But any other strike,
you're not going to take it.
You're going to take it because you can't drive that pitch. You are so locked in to look for a particular pitch when you're 2-0, 3-0, 3-0. If the pitcher's ahead on the count, if it's no balls, 2 strikes, then you have to protect the whole plate. You have to be a little more defensive in your swing. Players used to choke up. They really don't do that anymore to get more bat control.
Right.
Everybody swings for the fences.
Right.
But
who knew that it was such a cerebral approach to an at-bat?
There's a little science involved here.
Wow.
Besides
swing
Big
away.
Poppy's ability to hit a ball 500 feet.
Yeah.
But that was
out.
it. He's so done now. Yeah.
Well, didn't he say he was done the last couple of years and he came back?
No, he just said it now. But the thing is, he had such a spectacular year this year.
Yeah.
He had the best stats ever for a guy who was in his last year.
Right.
And everybody's saying, well, why are you leaving again? If you can do this, there would be certainly teams that would pay you. But he's far
done.
anyway, so he's done.
I looked at him, and then I thought, he doesn't look like a baseball player.
Why not?
Well, he's a big guy. He looks like a lineman. He looks like he could. He just doesn't look like,
Yeah. He's a big guy.
He's a big guy. He's kind of limps a little bit.
He's
a little.
They're bigger. There's a lot of weight training involved, and they've grown more mass. I mean, when you look at guys from the '80s, if you watch classic sports, you see Darryl Strawberry and players like that when they first came up. They look thin as a rail.
Correct,
by today's standards.
but you compare them to guys like Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire and some of these guys and what's his name,
Well, those guys might have had some helpers.
So you could tell it was so obvious who was having help and who wasn't.
Everybody now, it used to be.
They're massive.
It used to be part of the culture of baseball not to work out. I know that's.
Correct.
I know that's
counterintuitive to my whole raison d'etre. But do you remember when I know it's a very fancy show. Do you remember when Nomar was on the cover of Sports Illustrated when he left for a while and then he came back and he had the bat over his? Right. You guys remember that? And he was like jacked and he was huge.
Right. But it used to be the players thought it was counterproductive, and they were coached that it was counterproductive to be, as they called it at the time, muscle bound.
Muscle bound.
Right. You were supposed to be lithe. Yeah. And there were a couple players in the early '80s who challenged that way of thinking, and turned out they were right. Right. And their coaches were wrong. Well, I can say they were right. They were wrong. Players can hit the ball a lot farther now. Right. A lot more home runs. But there are also a lot more injuries, it seems, like pulled muscle injuries. Yeah,
interesting muscles pulled.
Interesting muscles.
Yeah, like when you pull your bicep muscle.
Yeah.
That's generally a steroid thing.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, I thought that's where you were going.
No, I wasn't. Going there. No, I was just saying that
because they're so big, it's very easy to get hurt.
There's more muscle to pull.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So that being said, who's going to win the World Series? 3, 2, 1.
Blue Jays.
Well, the
Blue Jays really that good of a team?
Who's the team everybody wants to win the World Series?
Boston.
Cubs.
New York Yankees. The Cubs. They haven't won since 1908.
Nice call.
Thank you very much.
Last time they were even in a World Series?
That was a couple years ago.
No.
That was
my
long
birthday, 1945. Is it 1945?
That was a good lunch one. That was like a lunch comment.
Yep.
1945.
Steve and I also have lunch once every 3 weeks, and they are some of the more entertaining lunches. In my head, it's every 3 weeks. I've said this before, I will say it again. No one has replaced the following person in this statement. If I had to be, I know a million people, especially now that we're doing this show and we have 47 guests on, except for today when we had 1. I meet
4
and know thousands and thousands of people. If I was trapped on an island and I could bring one human with me, but only one for the rest of my life, I will always pick Steve Hirdt.
Really?
Thanks.
Always. Sorry, Lance.
What if I supposed to be really annoying?
Then I will pick somebody different.
To be really annoying?
No, it's always you. I feel like you'll just keep me entertained.
All right.
Lance,
I would broadcast it to
everybody. If there was an outlet on the island, I would let you come. But without an outlet, you're really useless, Lance.
I am really useless, as I demonstrated a few hours ago.
With no charge.
But what would you do without a phone to charge, without an outlet on the island?
No, I know, but the outlet is actually more important to him than the phone. Okay. He just likes to know he can charge something if he has to. Okay, so who's going to win the World Series?
So, the Cubs, who haven't won since 1908, as you say, they're the favorite. No, for 2 reasons.
No, but are they most talented?
Well, yes, they are. But here's the thing about baseball. It's kind of rare for the team that has the best record, and the Cubs had the best record by far this year.
Right.
It's rare that you win, because the best record in baseball is achieved over 162 games.
Correct.
So it's only over that distance that teams can stand out one above the other, and the Cubs did that this year. However, over these short series that come up in the postseason, 5-game series in the first round,
correct,
and 7 in the next 2 rounds, including the World Series, the talent doesn't always win out to that degree over a shorter period. So if you look, the Cubs, probably more people think the Cubs are going to win than any other team. But if someone said to you, who's going to win, the Cubs or anybody else, you would pick anybody else. But let me throw
a monkey wrench in there.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but that argument sort of loses itself a little bit when you say, oh, you could lose your personality or the strength of your team, your best record in baseball over the course of a 5-game series. But I would say that about like the Carolina Panthers last year. That's over like a 1-game series. Over a 5-game series, I think you have more of a chance of the better team, the better talented team, the better stacked team winning, rather than, you get to the end, you're undefeated, or you have the best record, and you play
a lot of it goes to the nature of the game also. In baseball, there's one position that's the most important on the field, pitcher. And that guy changes every game. That's like unique to baseball. In no other sport that we follow here does the most important player change every game.
That's a really interesting point.
So that the fact that sometimes there's a pitcher so dominant.
Bumgarner.
Pedro Martinez back in his prime.
Oh yeah.
So if you got into
Jerry Kuzman.
a 5-game Jerry Kuzman, he was a big game pitcher. I wouldn't call him dumb because Seaver.
Why
was on
isn't he
same
in the Hall
step.
of Fame?
Kuzman?
Hold on a second.
Sorry.
Okay, here we go.
Turn into a sports talk radio show.
I know.
A lot of people think Kuzman was the Mets' best big game pitcher. He won a lot of important games, but the bulk of his record didn't match up to Seaver. So. But anyway, the dynamic of a different pitcher in every game gives
Excellent
baseball
point.
a different type of look. In football, think of something like when you're watching sports and something like crazy happens.
Yeah.
All right, now if you're watching basketball and the ball bounces off somebody's head
And goes
into
in.
the basket,
Yeah.
or somebody kicks the ball off their foot and I kick it to you and you go and score. Well, that's 2 points for you. It's 2 of the 100 you'll need to win the game.
Right.
But if a crazy thing happens in baseball, like maybe there's a weak pop-up that's hit by the batter, but it gets hit like just beyond second baseman and right field can't get there. If the bases are loaded at the time, that could be 3 runs right there.
Right. Oh, I see.
Now take football, which in a sense is the craziest of all, where the ball bounces crazily because it's not round, if you've ever noticed.
Yes.
And so, or if I'm throwing a pass and it looks good, but the receiver just misses it, it pops up in the air, the other team catches it and run the other way. Well,
7
instead
points.
of 7 points for you, 7 points for him. Huge turnaround.
Right.
So the role of good old-fashioned luck is more prevalent, I think, in football and baseball than it is in
Basketball.
In basketball, for instance, just looking at those 3. And so to try to say, oh, I know that this team's a better team over 100 games, the Cubs won over 100 games this year, nobody else did that. Yeah, that was over 100 games.
Okay, that makes sense
It's
to
kind
me.
of different to handicap these short series. Nonetheless, if somebody said pick a team who you think has the best chance to win,
Which is what I said 8 minutes ago.
I'd say the Cubs.
And
Well, we
this,
filled 8 minutes.
This is lunch.
We got 8 minutes.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Where were you an hour and a half ago?
So you had only one guest today?
No, we had 2 other guests.
Okay.
3 guests actually. You're the 4th.
You just said one.
I know. I was being sarcastic.
She
You know how I
erased
roll.
me from her memory.
Oh, you were in the
She
chair?
threw me on the
I
chair.
threw him in the
Okay.
chair.
You were the emergency guest. Remember?
I wasn't even the
Do you
emergency
remember there
guest.
used to be a show? No, you don't. Called "What's My Line" on
Yeah, sure.
television. I was like fascinated by this show. There used to be somebody would come out and you'd have to guess
Guess who the
what
guest
this
was.
person did for a living. There'd be a panel of 4 people doing the guessing.
And what clues do you get?
You could ask yes or no questions.
Okay.
Right. Like if you were on this show, someone would look at you and say, "Do you like?" There were generic questions at the beginning. Do you work in an office? Do you,
Oh, okay.
Do you work on a roof?
Okay.
Do you work on a roof?
Okay.
So we would think you were a construction
You're a
worker.
roofer.
Gotcha.
That's right.
Yeah.
But anyway, the host of this show, and then at the end of the show there would be a mystery guest who would come. Everybody put on blindfold.
Yeah.
And the mystery guest would come and sign his name so the audience would go nuts, the studio audience. And a little different now, you had to guess who the person was. You didn't have to guess
Right.
what the person did.
Yeah.
But the host of the show, the show was on like for 15 or 20 years. It was popular back in the 60s. And the host of the show, the last time it was on, he was the mystery guest himself.
Oh.
And they asked him why he had never done that before, and he said he was always always the emergency plan in case the mystery guest didn't show up.
Oh, that's really
So
funny.
that's
Well,
kind of why
I actually
that's why
refer
Lance
to it
took a
as
spin here.
I refer to
Yeah.
it as the penalty box.
the penalty box.
we
So if I didn't show
Because I
up
was
today, you
supposed
would've
to
done
book the
another hour.
guests,
Yeah,
and
but
I
we're not
If my flight was late coming in from
Yes.
Charlotte, you would have had it.
we shouldn't have dipped into the emergency guest 2 weeks into our show, but we did. Today is only the 11th show.
So now you'll need a double emergency.
We need a double. It's going to be Connor, which we've been
Okay.
trying to get this guy a date for a long time.
Oh,
It's called
Trying to
Date
get
with
Day
Connor.
with Connor.
Yeah, 23-year-old.
Date with Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a segment that's been going on since day 1, I think.
Yep.
Well, you must have had
Still
some.
single.
I'm saying that there'd probably be a lot of people who wrote.
No,
Yeah,
not
they're
no one's
flocking
written in.
You
No
They're
one.
flocking and they just don't know how to contact him.
Yeah, that's
So
crazy.
we're actually going to create a Date with Connor email address.
I'm thinking it'll be a winner.
Yeah, well, one would think.
Thank you.
One would think.
Yeah,
He's a good-looking guy.
he is good looking. What's his name?
I don't know. Are you Jewish?
No, I'm not.
Not even Jewish, so I really don't
Jewish?
know. I don't know what the problem is. I have no idea. What was in Charlotte?
Football game, Monday Night Football.
Oh, that's right.
Did you watch?
I
You
didn't.
were watching.
I watched Big Papi.
Right,
I did.
right.
We flipped over Monday Night Football. I was still in post-debate, like, what do you call it? Hangover state.
From Sunday. You watched
From
the day
Sunday
on
night, right. So we needed to watch something very easy. So Steph is from the Boston area, so she wanted to just see if Boston could pull it out. They couldn't. They couldn't pull it out.
But radio.
Did Cam play? Sorry, I don't want this to be all sports, but I'm just curious.
The Panthers quarterback did not play last night.
But
It's
he
a
did ride
big
a scooter.
deal.
A concussion. Yeah.
He was riding a scooter. They had
He was
pictures.
riding a scooter in the middle of Charlotte traffic. But,
Well, obviously he's still
Without a
being
helmet.
affected by reeling from effects of the concussion.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Sometimes you don't.
It doesn't make sense.
But not only did he not play, his backup played very poorly, threw an interception in the end zone on what could have been a go-ahead pass in the fourth quarter,
And the Panthers
and the
lost
Panthers won.
to the.
They're 1-4 now. The last time a team that had been in last year's Super Bowl started the season
Indianapolis
1-4.
Colts. No,
What was that?
the Colts.
What team? What city was that?
Indianapolis Colts. What?
India.
The India Colts.
There are no team in India.
The Calcutta Colts.
This is American football.
Was
No.
it the Colts?
No, it was
Tampa Bay.
It was the Panthers the last time they were in the Super Bowl.
What a stupid
In
question.
2003.
No
Remember
one's
they
guessing.
started the 04 season 1-4. We were discussing this the other day.
Oh yes, I do remember that. I do remember that. Anyway, who beat them?
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, okay.
Nice human interest story. They had a kicker. Usually kickers aren't drafted. Teams don't use a draft choice to pick a kicker
Right.
because they think they're more fungible.
Correct.
So they, but this guy was such a good kicker in college, they made him number 2 draft choice.
Wow.
Season starts, he goes 1 out of his first 3 on field goals. Then in this game last night, I think he missed 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4, something like that. And now he's going to have to kick the winning field goal from 50 yards. Really tough.
Right.
Except on the play before, penalty against Carolina for grabbing a guy's face mask. They moved the ball 15 yards closer.
35
It's
yards out.
35.
Nails it. I don't think that's a human interest story.
Yeah, because the guy was like, pacing the sidelines and stuff.
That's not human interest. That's just he had pressure on him, and then it was easier for him.
I was interested. He had made his
tell you
bed a
something.
little difficult.
We had I don't know if you know that much about soccer, but last year's Premier League winner was a team called Leicester in London.
Okay.
Very good team.
Right.
One of their big defenders was a guy by the name of Christian Fuchs. He's Austrian. He was on our show this week,
Really?
and he can kick a football through the uprights from about 60 yards out. Right?
Okay.
Now, he can't do it in the 1.5 seconds between the snap, laces out, and kick.
Right.
He hasn't tried that with oncoming traffic,
Right.
but he does know how to do it. And he was telling us that there are programs in the United Kingdom, but soccer, United Kingdom NFL,
Right.
where they are actually looking around and recruiting kickers for the NFL
Out of what we
because
call soccer. Out of
exactly.
the
I
European
got lost
football.
and confused with
No,
the
I
different
got you.
soccer and the American football.
That,
Is
there
that
was,
interesting?
Yeah, there was a previous thing like that in the 60s and 70s. Before then, kickers who lined up to kick a field goal would kick it like straight on. They wouldn't stand off to the side at first and like
Right.
roll the ball and hit it with their instep.
Yeah.
They would hit it with actually the front of their foot with their toe.
Yeah. That's
they-
why,
and
what's
they
his
had-
name, had that wooden foot, right?
George Blanda.
George Blanda had a wooden foot.
Okay, we're coming close. It's Tom.
Oh, Tom Dempsey from
Tom
the
Dempsey.
Tom Dempsey. But didn't Blanda have like a?
The kickers generally had a toe plate made
Toe
of
plate.
metal that they would
Yeah.
put across the front of their shoe,
Yeah.
so that they would gain extra
Right.
distance. But then in the 60s, there was a Hungarian soccer player named Pete Gogolak and his brother Charlie, who came to the United States, went to school at Cornell, and they revised how the kicking would be done forever in the NFL. They
Off to the
they
side,
kicked
3
off to
steps
the side,
off,
3
yeah.
steps, kick with your instep.
Yeah.
And these guys were booming 50-yarders. The other guys going straight on, like, couldn't reach for both the distance and for accuracy.
Right.
And so there was an influx of European kickers that came in. There was a guy named Garo Yepremian who kicked for the Miami Dolphins.
Famous passer, right? Like
He
in
was the
the.
most famous guy of them. Yeah, he came in, and there was a guy, Alex Karras, who was his teammate on the Lions, who said, we got this little guy that kicks 6 field goals a game. He's great, but he doesn't know what to call it. He goes around saying, I kick a touchdown. and this guy, when he in the Super Bowl one time, the Miami Dolphins had a perfect season,
I remember that.
and now they had to win one more game, the Super Bowl, to go completely undefeated, and they're ahead 14-0 in the fourth quarter, and they're going to try to kick a field goal that'll just about clinch the game and
Yeah.
make it 17-0. Well, the ball was blocked by the defense and bounced back to Gary Kremlin in one
Yeah.
and now he can't kick it again, and he's got to try to pass it. And so he takes his arm back to try to pass it, and his arm gets hit. The ball pops up. A defender catches it and runs 40 yards for a
Oh my
touchdown.
God.
So the game was closer. That Miami wound up winning, but that was a highlight.
Oh,
Actually, could I tell a personal story about that?
please. Well, I'd love you. I'm thinking to myself that I hope you can tell a personal story about
So,
Yara
my first-
Yarovach.
This was during the Super Bowl, and they played the Redskins, and I did something incredibly wrong when I was. This was 1972, right? It was the. That was
72.
January 73. Yeah.
73. So I was 9 years old. I did something incredibly wrong, so I got punished by my dad. No, I don't think my mom would have had any. I wasn't allowed to watch the first half of the game.
Really?
I don't know what I could have done that badly.
That's a terrible punishment.
Yes.
Was it a criminal offense?
I don't know. It was
Really?
To
like
have the Super Bowl
yeah.
taken away from you for a half.
What do you think of Tiger Woods pulling out? Choke? You think he's choking?
Pulling out of what?
This PGA championship or PGA tournament this
Haven't
weekend.
followed him. So.
He hasn't played in 15 years. No, not that long. But he's
Right.
finally coming back. He tells them, "I'm coming back. This is when I'm playing. These are the 4 tournaments I'm going to play. You know, all the hotels sell out. All the restaurants are oversold with reservations. People are fluxing in. ESPN's driving their ginormous big ass sat truck coming in. This is going to be the big thing.
Because of
Everything
him.
is all because of Tiger."
Okay.
And then he goes, that was Friday.
Right.
Monday, you know what? Don't think I'm ready yet, so I don't think so. And everyone was sort of left with. And I think
Trailers
he,
left.
yeah. So I think he choked. I think he's nervous. I don't think we're going to see him play for a long time.
I don't know. But isn't that his right to feel that way?
I don't know.
Maybe genuinely had a change of mind.
In 2 days?
Yeah, it's a little weird.
It's a little weird, right?
Yeah.
Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Well, that's big stories in football this year. What?
Okay, let me tell you.
Go ahead.
It's better than you tell me. Now I'll tell you what the big story. What are the big stories in football?
Have you
this
watched
year?
many football games this year?
I mean, I
You
watched a
the
couple.
game last night, or the no, it was.
I watched the debate. I didn't watch the Giants Packers game.
You didn't watch the Packers games?
No, I know the Giants lost.
Yeah.
I did watch the debate,
Okay, so let's see.
so I watched that.
Beginning
football
of the
game.
season, Tony Romo.
Yeah, I'm done
got
with
hurt.
Tony Romo. He gets hurt at the beginning of every Cowboys season.
Yeah, but this year they're bringing a rookie, and they're 4-1.
Yes.
Not only that, but they got a rookie running back. They got a rookie running back, and he also is a rookie.
Yeah.
And in the first 5 games, that guy's run for over 500 yards. Ezekiel Elliott. Dak Prescott, the quarterback, has got 1,000 yards passing. Nobody's ever done that. 2 rookies on the same team before. So the Cowboys are looking up. And when Tony Romo comes back,
Is he going to play?
there's a question now. Well, Jerry Jones and the Cowboys say yes, he will. It's his job. But the Cowboys 4-1. That's a big story. And the Minnesota Vikings, who haven't they made the playoffs a year, but they haven't been a perpetual winner. Training camp, they lose their quarterback,
Right.
Teddy Bridgewater. They lose their Hall of
Adrian
Fame bound running
Peterson.
back, Adrian Peterson, second
Right.
game of the season, and they are 5-0
Wow.
with a guy named Sam Bradford playing quarterback, who they traded for the Eagles after Bridgewater got hurt. So you've got those 2 teams. You've got the Philadelphia Eagles with a rookie
Eagles.
quarterback,
Wentz.
Carson Wentz. You know, it used to be that the big thing in football was to have the same coherence from year to year. You go
Right.
with the same personnel. I just looked up, special for this show,
Yeah, tell me.
what
I'm
the,
dying to
what
hear.
the record is, the one-loss record this year for quarterbacks who were not on that team last year.
Okay.
So this is where you can have coming in. Usually there'd be some growing pains. You have to get used to our system, the new
Yeah,
teammates.
yeah.
It's important. 23-12.
Wow.
23-12. And usually in past years, it's never been above 500.
Right.
And usually well below. So all of these teams that brought in new quarterbacks this year generally doing really, really well.
Wow.
Teams that going with the tried and true are under 500.
I'm a little disappointed in the Jets this year. I was a big anti-Geno Smith fan, so I always rooted
What does
against
that
the
mean?
Jets when
Rooted
he
against
played.
Geno Smith?
Yes,
What did
always.
he do?
I didn't like him.
Did he do something too?
No, but I didn't like the way he treated the team. I didn't like his cavalier attitude. I didn't like the fact that he felt he got every chance in the world and he couldn't play a bad game. Every game he was like, "Oh, sorry, I stunk."
You didn't think it meant enough to him?
No, I don't think, and I didn't think it meant enough to him. I really liked this Ryan Fitzpatrick,
Yeah.
but
Good.
I
Harvard.
don't. I gotta tell you, I'm trying hard to really like him over the last 3 games. It's
How
been
many
tough.
Harvard players do you think are in the NFL?
Okay, well, I know that who played. Don't tell me. Middle linebacker for the Buffalo Bills in 2002 was a guy by the name of. He went to Columbia, right? Inside linebacker.
He's retired.
Okay. Anyway, what was the question?
How many Harvard players
That I
are
don't
in the
know.
NFL?
I don't know.
Actually, there were 7. That's a lot.
Really? From
Yeah.
Harvard?
Yeah.
Anyone I know?
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
That's it.
Okay.
Smart guy. Smart guy, just not smart with facial hair. Smart guy though.
Well, the facial hair kind of adds to. If you let's put it this way: there are smart guys who don't have facial hair, but if you have facial hair, you might be smart. Well, that kind of facial
Lance is
hair.
one of the smartest people I know,
No
and he
facial
does
hair.
not have facial hair.
I have a beard in the winter.
Okay. That's cool. So you want to talk baseball again, Lance? Lance keeps wanting me to talk baseball.
I think baseball is yeah.
Do people have questions about baseball?
So Cassius J wants to know, Steve, what do you think about Mike Trout? And he also wants to talk about the Raiders. He's commented about it like 7 times.
Mike Trout and the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean separate,
Okay.
but
Mike Trout has just signed to be the running back for the Raiders. No.
Yeah.
Like Bo Jackson did that time.
yeah.
Is he a baseball player?
Mike Trout's a baseball player.
Oh.
Mike Trout.
Do you mean the
Come on.
Rangers or
You
the
know
Raiders?
Mike Trout?
He
The Raiders,
asked
no, Mike.
about Mike Trout, and then he also said, "Can y'all talk about the Raiders?"
Okay. See,
Two
he said
separate.
2 different sports,
Oh,
and I
okay.
kind of merged them
Right.
for comedic purposes.
I didn't laugh. I feel
know,
terrible.
But do you know who Mike Trout is?
No.
You know, this is the point. What's the man's name? Cassius, who asked that question?
Right.
That Jenna doesn't know Mike Trout.
Well, actually, it's tied to a question here. There's another question: who the best player in baseball is? Who do you think
okay,
the best
because
player in
a
baseball is?
lot of people generally feel, I think there's a general consensus, Mike Trout is the best player in baseball, and has been for about 5 years.
5 years?
Yeah. You know what team he plays for? You never heard of him, right?
No.
He plays for the Angels.
It's from New
Um,
Jersey.
He's from New Jersey. He has an obsession with weather.
Really?
He loves to watch weather reports on the shows, and in the off season they let him do like the weather reports on some local stations.
That's
Kind of a neat
awesome.
thing
That's
about
where
it.
we should get him in here.
But yes,
We actually have a weather person coming.
have
non
him come in
sequitur.
also.
Right.
Put up a weather map and have him
Yeah, we should.
show you the way a front moves.
Can you get him in here, Lance?
I will reach out to Mike Trout.
But tell him that Jenna's a big fan. Don't say.
I'll say that Jenna doesn't
who he
know.
was.
Who you
I'm
are.
gonna say that I'm more surprised that you don't know who he is than you don't know
Then
who
she-
Squeeze.
then she-
Actually, I'm more surprised you don't know who Squeeze is.
Anyway.
But Mike Trout has the thing about it is the Angels, for the most part, haven't been a good team while he's been on it, even though he's the best player. I think they've only reached the playoffs 1 year. And in all 5 of his seasons, there have been people who are promoting his candidacy for most valuable player in the league.
And he
then
never
there's
gets
this
there?
debate. Well, to win the most valuable player award,
Your
shouldn't you have to
team.
play for a
Okay.
winning team and
Okay.
have it mean something?
Yeah.
And most of the voters do feel that way. So he's only won the most valuable player award once. When, if you just looked at his statistics in isolation of any
Yeah.
other consideration, you think, well, this guy, because he
Yeah.
hits 30 home runs, he steals 30 bases,
Right.
he's a great center fielder, he runs the bases really well. There's nothing he doesn't do.
Right.
But he sort of labors under this cloud that his full talent is, I don't know, especially his fans think it's not being recognized by
Okay.
the people who give the awards. And the Raiders are 4-1 this year out of
Wow.
nowhere. They have a great young quarterback, and he's they've done a lot. They've done a lot. They've won a number of games on the road so far this year, and it's been a long time since the Raiders were good.
Right.
I think they were in the Super Bowl in 2002, and that might have been the last good team that they had.
Is their owner still with them?
Al Davis? No, he
Al
died.
Davis.
His son now owns the team, Mark Davis.
What about the female general
Oh,
manager?
Amy Trask.
Yes.
Yes, Amy is now a TV commentator, I think, for CBS.
Cool. So I have no idea what's happening with the Raiders then.
Well,
way
you had a
off.
good idea what was happening like 15 years ago. See, that's when you came to New York
I know.
and you really studied this
Yes.
stuff.
No,
Yeah.
I've not studied squat because I'm learning stuff for the Jenna Wolf Show.
But no, exactly. You don't have to be up on that.
But that's
you know.
what's so great about our relationship, and I honestly feel that, like, Steve is one of the funniest people you know, but he could be dry humor. It's brilliant humor. Out of nowhere, he'll say something that I'll fall off the chair laughing. I'm just throwing humor out into the world. I'm just humor, and occasionally it's funny, and sometimes it's not so funny. But between the two of us, a joke will sometimes mix and mesh, and we'll hit the mother load of all
Remember
things
the time
that
we
are
were
funny.
eating lunch and there were 3 90-year-olds sitting at the next table?
Yeah,
and you said to me,
I said, what do you think they're talking about?
I said 3 different things.
I know, the funniest line. It was 3 old people, senior citizens, older.
They were senior citizens.
They were senior citizens. I mean, really old. They had to be like 85, 90 years old, right?
I'm taking the over.
Taking the over. Anyway, maybe they were 95. And I go, Steve, what do you think they're talking about? And without missing a beat, he goes, 3 different things. Isn't that funny?
Could be.
That was very funny.
So,
what else?
So back to the baseball. So the other teams now. Toronto. Lance is a Toronto fan.
No, he's
Or
he's
is it Jose Bautista?
he's
I'm a Met
Jose
fan.
Bautista fan.
Oh, Met fan. I was at the game last week.
So was I, yeah.
But they should have won. It's
Why?
just they got outpitched by just a pitcher who happened to have been a little bit better than their starting pitcher. But against any other team on any other day, their pitcher, what did they take? 7 1/3. How far did he go?
7 innings.
7
It's
innings.
great
That's
ball.
great. It's about
But
7
part
enough to win.
of the thing now, and the Mets played into Bumgarner's hands in this. The first 3 innings of the game, the Mets all swung at the first pitch. I think in 3 innings he had thrown only 21 pitches, while Syndergaard had thrown almost 60.
Wow.
And that playing out
That's a big
eventually caused
difference.
Syndergaard to leave the game after 7
Yeah.
innings, and Bumgarner went all 9.
Do you think
Bumgarner, by the way, was a great hitter. He almost did 2 home runs in that game.
That game,
Warning
yeah.
track twice. And last night he gave up a home run to the Cubs pitcher, Jake Arrieta, 3-run home.
Ah,
That gave the Cubs the early lead. That game won 13 minutes.
wow.
That was a great game.
Is he going to pitch Game 5 if there's a Game 5?
Bumgarner?
Yeah.
I would think he I don't know if he'd started, but like one time he did in the World Series, he came out of the bullpen and pitched 5 innings in relief or something like that. I saw Kershaw is going to pitch tonight for the Dodgers on only 3 days rest. He's made a habit of this in the postseason. The Dodgers seem to be up against it every year in this situation in the postseason.
How do you know so much about all? I'm fascinated by him. I know this is your world, but there's nothing that I know this much about. Not even my own self.
Oh, come on, you know more about this stuff.
I don't know if I
Yes,
do.
you Yeah, you do.
Ask me any question.
What's the capital of Haiti?
See? I do know that one. But that was too easy.
What's the capital of the Dominican Republic next door to Haiti?
That would be what's the capital of the DR?
It's 2 words.
I know. Santo Domingo.
Nice. Okay, I was going to start giving
Santa
clues.
Domingo.
Comes to Christmas.
Santa Clausingo.
Now, when you were growing up in Haiti, did you go over to the Dominican Republic?
Never.
Are you allowed
2 different
to do
countries.
That? I know that, but is it like U.S. and Canada?
They didn't want
Or
us
you
over
just-
there.
Really?
No, yeah, it was not like the U.S. and Canada at all.
Not friendly, really.
No,
And
they
share,
were
but
embarrassed
they share
by
an
the.
island.
Yes, but if you fly over the island, you will see the line that separates the two.
How can you tell?
One is lush and green and plush and plentiful, and the other one is barren and dry and brown. You could see it.
Okay, Dominican has the lush.
Yeah, Dominican has the lush.
Okay.
Their Dominican has the
No,
lush.
not this kind of lush.
Not that
Like
kind of.
the
They're not all
lush.
drinking over in Haiti, especially not now. I can tell you that much.
But do the countries get along historically, or they're a little rat-a-tat-tat?
They're so separated. I mean, no one vacations over there. No one goes over there. Not that I know of. It just was never like that. We were there one time in 15 years. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Unlike here, where everyone, I said this earlier, is vowed to leave the country if Donald Trump is elected. Whether you vote for him or not, everyone said they're leaving. They're going to Canada.
Even his supporters?
Even his family. They're leaving the country if he becomes the president. They're all going to Toronto.
It'll make him very lonely.
I know, right? Are you following it? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously you are. Isn't it so
Could you see that, like, State of the Union speech he's given him?
There's no one there. Hello,
They
no,
usually interrupt like 500
no.
There's some new show on TV now where the at the
New
State
York
of the
City.
Union speech, like there's been some attack on the
Is this
Capitol
with Nick
building.
Nolte?
No, it's the guy who played in 24.
Oh, Kiefer Sutherland.
Because they always don't let one lowly cabinet officer has to stay away. And he's in case this happens.
Is
This-
that
This is
true?
the true part.
Okay.
Yeah. And so somebody must have heard that and said, hey, you could do a show about that. And so all the politicians get wiped out, and this guy, I don't know what cabinet officer he was.
Labor, Department of Labor.
Yeah, he wasn't the Secretary of State.
No,
he was one
right.
of the ones we don't know.
Yeah.
And he's now the president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
but
good
he's also Jack Bauer.
Of course he is.
So you never lose me with Jack Bauer.
Do you remember that line from that movie Broadcast News with Mel Brooks, where he's talking to the handsome one, and he goes, "Can you name all 12 cabinet members?" And he goes, "Yes." He goes, "There are only 10." Remember that?
Yes.
Okay.
That was Albert Brooks.
Albert
to,
Brooks.
Bill
Sorry,
Hirdt.
I said Mel Brooks. Your brother.
He spells it different.
Oh, whatever. Because he's
like
in Hollywood.
there's all these wolves in sports.
Yes.
It's a pack of wolves.
It's a pack of wolves. And there is actually a wolf pack.
Do you now? Who spells it like you?
Nobody.
Really?
Nobody does.
Okay.
I don't even know why I did it. It was probably a mistake the first time I wrote it down. I wouldn't be surprised.
You went with
Let
it?
me tell you this. I'm at an event on Saturday. I run into who? Sean Landetta. Sean remembers me from Philadelphia.
Right.
I'm walking by. Jenna. I turn around. I'm like, it's Sean Landetta. He goes, he was signing autographs. Come over. I'm talking to him. My parents happen to be there. And he goes, he walks up to my parents. He goes, "Hi, I'm Sean." And they were like, "I'm Sheila, I'm Bennett." And he goes, "Am I one of the only people that really know this girl as Jennifer Wolfen?" My parents are like, "Yeah, you must be. You must be the only one."
Well,
No one corrected him.
Really?
No one corrected
What did Wolf End, he said?
Wolfend. It's Wolfeld. But whatever, I love Sean to death. But no one corrected him. My dad was like, "Yes, I'm Bennett Wolfen." I'm like, we went with it. It was very funny.
And this is Sean Landetta-Ruski.
Sean Landetta-Ruski. He told me that Harbaugh was his special teams coach in Philadelphia. Now, I covered the Eagles for 3 years and never knew that.
You should explain who Sean Landetta is.
Sean Landetta was a kicker for the Giants for many
Punter.
years. Punter.
Hunter.
He actually was one of the first to really truly understand the ridiculous wind speed and velocity and angles and craziness in Giant Stadium, right? Because it was really
Very scientific punter.
It is,
Yeah.
and he was really
Punted for
smart,
a long,
really
long
good.
time. Yeah, 20 years. 20
phenomenal.
years playing pro football.
And then he, and even towards the end, he still wore the same mask he used in remember
Yeah.
it just had the
The single bar.
the single
across.
bar. It was practically just a baseball hat.
The punter usually doesn't take too much contact to the face.
Correct, but still you could wear a helmet, like a real helmet. And then he went to Philadelphia, played for the Eagles, with a kicker by the name of David Akers, who, when David found out that my dad makes leather buttons, pulled me aside, I'm just telling everybody secrets now, and asked if I would make him a pair of leather pants.
Wait a minute. Your dad makes leather
Buttons.
buttons like this.
Yes, but leather. You didn't know that about my dad?
No,
You've known me for 20 years.
you've never shared.
Is he going to be making buttons for the Jenna Wolf show?
I'm sure he can. But they're not like big buttons like I'm with her. They're like, leather buttons on winter coats.
Like functional buttons.
Yes.
So we could have
They
like a Jenna
hand-make
Wolf
them.
show line of
Winter wear.
Of winter wear
Which
with
we'll be having
buttons.
to wear when we're up here because we don't have a studio or a pot to piss in. It'll be amazing.
But if you're making leather buttons,
This is what I love about Steve. He's as cerebral as you are. Let me hear it.
I'm trying to figure.
I think
out.
he's more cerebral.
I don't know.
First of all,
Yeah.
aren't buttons made of, I don't know what, glass or plastic or something?
But it's leather. They take leather, they stretch it, and they fold it in a weird way, and they put it on, and it comes over with a clasp.
Does he make other things? Who's that?
Zipper pulls.
Zipper pulls.
When are we
Everyone's
having your
got
dad
just-
on?
Just the pull of the
We
zipper?
should. Yeah, just the pull.
How about the zipper
No, that's made by an entirely different factory. Just the leather part. Someone's got to make it.
Like
Someone
a-
made that toothpick.
A
Somebody
typical
made
zipper,
that toothpick.
that's a two-factory operation.
Factory operation.
Maybe they should get together.
One would think.
Save on costs.
Yeah, one would think
And-
that they could get together and make zipper pulls.
No, are you kidding me? I mean, seriously.
Zipper pull. Dad, there's no way my dad's watching. My dad watched one 3-minute clip of one show we've been on. We've had 4 hours a day for 5 and 5 is 10 days. So that's
Right.
how many hours? 200 hours of
Okay.
programming. He's watched for 3 minutes, and he goes, "So I watched your show." Yeah, this is exactly what he says. So I watched your show. I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, so that's your show." So he says. I go, "That's the show, Dad. That's the show." He goes, "So what do you do for 4 hours?" I go, "More of just what you saw." That for 4 hours. He goes, "Now what do you have to do for 4 hours?" I go, what difference does it make? I'm the one that's doing it. Like, why does it bother you that I'm doing it for 4 hours?
Probably Seinfeld's father had the same reaction the first time he watched one of Seinfeld shows.
Maybe.
You know?
Yeah, you're
You know?
probably right.
Right.
So that's
show
what
about
you're gonna
nothing.
do.
So this is
That's
what you're gonna do.
Howard Stern's dad is like has been all over Howard Stern for years.
For doing
such.
such-
He was like, "Well, that's what you want to be," and Springsteen's dad wanted him to be a lawyer. His mom wanted him to be a teacher.
Really?
They were disappointed in him.
Look, my parents fully support me, but they don't understand exactly what it is that I do now. Neither do you. Neither do many people. But I will tell you this. I will tell you this
Jenny,
right
your mom
now.
says hi. She's watching.
Oh, hey, Mom. Does Dad do more than just the zipper pulls and the buttons?
Can you
Steve
let us
wants
know?
to-
Is that really a two-factory operation, or is Jenna just pulling my leg?
Steve wants to know why the factory that makes zippers can't merge with Dad's factory, so the zippers and the zipper pulls are really working
it looks like
together.
such a cohesive unit.
Nope.
Working all together.
No, the zipper
to
needs
create
the
the
zipper
up and down.
pulls.
Steve's management consulting operation.
Yeah, right?
You're like, I don't know. I would think you're going to tell me that the people who make hammers, like the people who make the wooden base, are different than the people who make the metal.
I know. Did she write back?
Not yet.
She will. She's probably trying to figure it out. She's
We
calling
actually
my
are
dad.
going to lose
I think she's researching it.
What
Right?
time is it? Oh my God! It's almost 3 o'clock.
Are you kidding me?
That went so fast. We did a half hour.
Wow.
We did
If
more
you
than a half
got-
hour.
We did more than a half hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, will you come back
So
again?
yeah. Well, who do you think is going to win the World Series? You can't say the Cubs.
Okay.
Pick another team.
I'm gonna. I mean, look. I watched Cleveland play, but only for 8 minutes. So I'm gonna probably just go with Jose Bautista's Blue Jays because Lance has promised that Jose's coming on the show, right, Lance?
We'll get Jose on. We'll try. I will try to get him on.
But the New York
Oh.
teams are eliminated,
Promised.
so you'll have to go to him
I mean-
if you want him to do it during the.
Nah,
playoffs.
let him come here. Can't go to Toronto. Although Toronto's a great city, so I think I'll go. I mean, I'd love the Cubs to win. That would be a really great story. I'd
It'd be a
love the
great
Cubs.
story.
And I really do think that the Patriots are going to beat the Packers in the Stupid Bowl. That's
the
what I
what?
think. In the Super Bowl.
Okay. Well, that's not a bad bet. Any year you want to say it. Patriots over the Packers.
I'm going to say it.
I mean, those are two teams that are in the playoffs perennially. I think
So you're telling me I'm a wuss
last
for
7
picking-
year with the
okay.
same coach,
Right.
the same
And a teaser
quarterback.
for the next time he's on. We have some questions about basketball.
Okay.
The Warriors this year.
Well, you want to go into that now? We have like 2
Yeah,
minutes
just
left.
a quick who's good. What do you think?
Well, the Warriors added Kevin Durant. So
Right,
as
so
strong
they're
as
gonna
they
be
were
dominant.
last year, but
You think they're going to win it all?
there's not much room for improvement. They set the record for wins last year at
Yeah.
73 wins. I mean, they only play 82 games.
Like, what don't you know?
So even
You're
with
amazing.
the addition of one of the greatest players in the world, do you think they'll win 73 games again? I'd say probably not. I mean, it's just so
It's so hard to do.
overwhelming an achievement. So, but who wouldn't want to add Durant? So that gets started pretty soon.
I'm
End of the
not.
month.
I obviously because of the show I can't do lunch anymore. But would you do like a breakfast with me or an afternoon lunch sometime next week?
Wait a
any
minute.
day?
You said you can't do lunch
No,
anymore.
we're on from 11 to 3.
Why don't you come on
But
one
you
day
just-
next week
and we'll have
in the
it
2
catered?
o'clock, and then you.
can have it
Actually,
Oh, and then we'll go after.
you guys can
afterwards.
have like.
Oh, we can
you
have it catered right here?
We can have catered. We'll have food if you want. But we can do 2 to 3.
And then you will go out afterwards.
Instead of
3
these
o'clock.
icebergs.
Your mom says that he
Oh.
makes hundreds of different style buttons, buckles, and pulls, lots more.
Nice.
So you don't know
She
much
didn't
about your
answer about
dad's
the
job, and
zippers.
he doesn't know
She
much
didn't
about
answer
what you're
about the
doing.
Whoa!
I almost
Oh,
got
that's
killed.
Hillary Clinton's fly.
I know, just much meaner.
Yeah. Did you notice that the other night?
Yeah.
Oh,
He
yeah.
has
Was that
his
a
own
big
Twitter
thing on
account.
Twitter or
Yeah,
something?
Yeah.
Was that
I
in
didn't
the
actually
studio?
watch the debate.
You know
All
what
I
was
did was
impressive? It didn't bother her.
No, she wasn't even
she was
fazed
like
by it.
robotic.
She probably
It
has
just-
so
it
much
just
makeup
like-
on that she
Yeah.
wouldn't have felt it.
I mean, she was locked in on the camera.
Beyond
Fly-
locked in.
It would have taken like a grasshopper or something.
Wait,
Yeah.
Steve, we have so many questions, and I don't want to leave. I want you to come back. Well, give me a day right now that you can come back.
All
I
right,
know.
sometime.
Okay, so I'll see you then. So and then you'll come at 2. We'll play
What
until
day?
3.
Yeah,
What day
correct.
works for you? So we could
I
tease
have
it.
to check my
Okay, well,
My,
we'll be in touch.
crowded schedule. Yeah, but maybe next week.
No, it's going to be next week.
Next week, so you can
Okay.
come on during the playoffs. We got
Yeah, come down.
playoffs,
during the
World
playoffs.
Series.
All
I
right.
have so many more
Okay.
questions for you.
All right, I'll do
We will get you
thank-
going.
Don't beg. It's so embarrassing.
it. When's that soccer player coming back on?
Christian
He's
Fuchs.
gotta come
Okay,
over
finish it
from
up.
Europe
He's
first.
got to get here from
Okay,
Europe.
this is
first.
staying live.
Okay.
And just get into the
Did you have a
closing
theme
segment.
song when you go off the air?
Not yet because we are